and welcome to Across the Desk. This week we're going to talk more about Kevin Stitt and some of the things he's done over just the last 2 weeks or so. It seems that he's got his people in place now after a year being in office, and he's hitting the ground running with some things that I'm really going to talk about and go after today in this week's episode. Now, the first thing that happened last week that kind of caught my attention was we had an OU Board of Regents meeting, and none of the people that Stitt had appointed to the board showed up. Now, of course, whenever they took the position, some of them already had these prior conflicts and everything else, but to have all three not show up, well, that tells you something. It tells you he really chose poorly on who to put on the Regents Board of OU. None of them showed up. As a matter of fact, one of the reasons why they didn't show up is because they're from out of state. Just kind of like these law firms that he had hired to go after the tribes and the gaming compacts. And now he's done away with the two law firms that they hired at the tune of hundreds of thousands apiece that didn't do anything. And now he's got some local firms that are doing stuff on the compact gaming thing, but he won't disclose how much he's paying them, which is really not him paying them, it's us paying him because it's our tax money. That right there is one of the issues that I kind of wanted to go over. That was kind of, wow, you just picked some people that didn't show up. That tells you kind of this guy's ability to lead and to govern, really. He's doing a really poor job, in my opinion, and that right there is just item one. And it's really not what I want to talk to about today, because this guy's really done a lot of other things. The other thing, besides last week's show, you heard me talk about how he wants to appoint the Secretary of Education and has the Secretary of State guy in mind to do it. That's just another thing. But really what I want to talk about today, and for this week's show, is the fact that he just came out with his plan for Medicaid expansion in Oklahoma and block granting, which I found really curious when I was watching and reading the material on this that he just put out. One, he didn't really put out the full plan, as he really doesn't have one together. But here's the interesting thing that I noticed. One, Mr. Stitt hasn't been honest with the people of Oklahoma, and I don't expect him to be anytime soon. Basically, what he did was back in, when was that, August or so, he said, I got a working group put together here locally, and we're going to get this working group's going to put together a plan so that we can expand on Medicaid, and it'll compete with the state question 802 that was going to come out, that was signed by over 317,000 people in Oklahoma. No more people have signed a petition than that in our history. And he's going to go against this. This is will of the people type stuff. And he just wants to go against that. The other thing that astonishes me about this plan that he came out and unveiled in February, just the other day, was he said he was going to have this plan in the fall. Didn't come out with it in the fall. It'll be the end of the year. Here we are, middle of winter, and he comes up with a plan. But the interesting deal is, it's nothing from Oklahoma. He went to Washington, D.C. and helped Trump unveil his plan. And that's what he's using. He didn't have a working group here do anything. He just went to D.C. and piggybacked on that plan and brought it back here. That's all he did. And he really hasn't done anything with it. Now, so I'm going to bring it to the working group, and we're going to do something. I thought you were already supposed to have something. And this just is... It's just baffling, the things that he says in this. There are a few problems with what the current administration in Washington, D.C. wants to do with block fund granting and what Stitt has in mind for Oklahoma. One, there's no legal apparatus to do the funding scheme that they want. It doesn't work that way. The other thing they want to do, they want to add premiums to these. They want people that are making $10,000 to $15,000 a year to pay a premium. Man, if you can't pay a premium, then you don't need it, right? And that's just, one of the Republican thinking. If you can't afford it, well, you don't need it anyway. And so there you have that argument, which just really doesn't fly. It's kind of gross on its face. And then you have, they're going to waive current Medicaid benefits that allow low-income persons to get retroactive coverage for Medicare and going back 3 months, which, we do that now, but they're going to get rid of that. The other thing they want to do, they want to have work requirements into this. This allows states the flexibility to add even more stringent work requirements and abilities to get any kind of Medicaid funding or help for your health care if you make under $15,000 a year. Like I said in the show, if you go back several episodes, these people make $15,000 a year. An operation like an appendicitis could easily cost more than their year's pay. So you want them to pay a premium. This is so cynical, and it's so typical of the way conservatives think in this day and age. One of the biggest problems about block fund granting is when in times of disaster or in times of pandemic or in times of downturn, when it's really needed, the funding won't be there. We'll run out of funding, and there will be a lot of people that don't get money, especially when it comes to our seniors and nursing homes. I mean, this will devastate nursing homes in this state if we run out of money because we got a block grant, ran out of money 8 months into it, and now we don't have the other 4 months to pay nursing homes. What do you think is going to happen to those nursing homes? Well, they're going to go out of business, and we're going to have anywhere for our elderly people here in Oklahoma to go, or even a quality place for them to go. We're just not going to have it, and that's the type of state Kevin Stitt wants us to be. He always talks about Oklahoma being a top 10 state, and it's not going to be that. I just want to say I'm from Oklahoma, born and raised, 5th generation on my dad's side, 4th on my mom's. I mean, we helped build this state, literally, and it's just not going to be. And there's several factors as to why. One, geographically, we're not a coastal state. Right there, oceans are a big part of our infrastructure in this world. And if you have a seaport, well, you're doing some commerce and you're bringing in some cash. So, and we just don't have that. I mean, we do have the crossroads of America here, but we just do a poor job of exploiting that. And that's just the case of Oklahoma, And when you see a lot of people that are just, isolationist and just want to make it as small as possible, well, you're not going to get the diversity you need to make it a top 10 state. And when you have, like I was saying in other previous episodes, when you have one industry in this state that holds the only egg in the basket, well, you're not going to grow your economy that way, and you're not going to be a top 10 state. And if you do this to your poorest among you and the most vulnerable, where you're going to have the Sooner Care 2.0, we're going to revamp that system to where we can screw the poor person, well, there you have it. And it's meant to just, I don't know, it's some fantasy land scheme they have that's out here somewhere, some ideological thing in their head. It's over here somewhere, and they just can't seem to attain it, and just keep stumbling over themselves. And that's what Kevin Stitt's doing here. I don't think he gets it. He honestly doesn't, because if he did, his working group would have had something. He would have had to go to Washington, D.C. and piggyback off what the feds are doing. And he would have had to lie to us about it. He has to put it on the ballot. He has yet to say when this will be on the ballot, and I'll guarantee you, it's got to be this year. I think he's got to do it sometime. But we'll see, maybe he doesn't think he has to. Maybe if he's anything like Trump, maybe he'll see if he can get away with something here and not put it on there. I mean, who's going to hold him to account, right? We'll just see what happens with that. I hope he does put it on the ballot. I think he should. I think it's part of his duties as governor to do so. I think he would be derelict in his duty if he didn't, and I think he should be hammered for it if he doesn't. But I get why he doesn't. He at first he was all for it, right? And now he's not. Well, he's Republican. Somewhere money's involved, and some cronies, and they got to him and said, "No, man, we can't be for this at all." And so you got what you got, and that's where we are in Oklahoma with our governor Kevin Stitt. Now he's using a couple of local firms, but he's just not disclosing how much they're getting paid because he knows it's icky. I'm almost positive he does, because he would say something if he did, and this just tells you the floundering and the fiasco that the gaming compact is for Fisk, for Stitt, because he's not winning in this one. He's just not. He's obviously not. He's isolated. He doesn't have a lot of allies. when it comes to fighting the tribes. He has a couple of law firms in state that we don't know about, and a lot of people are against that, and it just baffles me. It baffles me the lack of politicking this guy can do, and it goes in to tell you just how much. This is what you get when you get. This is that mantra and how it doesn't work. We need a businessman in there, and I can tell you, I'm a businessman, and I'm going to tell you, running a business is not the same as running a government, and the cognitive dissonance of conservatives on this one. I'm going to do a whole show coming up, and this is it. I'm going to do all the cognitive dissonance and just things that don't make sense with conservatives, and this is one of them. Where it's kind of like oxymorons, where it's like small government conservative. That doesn't exist. It doesn't. I mean, they like big government. They do. When they go after the LGBT community, when they go after solar panels on your house, when they go after your health care, and when they go after being able to protest, that's Republican big government. I mean, that's the cognitive dissonance that I'm talking about. I'm a small government Republican is an oxymoron, and it just doesn't make any sense. So we have Stitt out there. Yeah, he's been in office, a little while now. So yeah, he's been able to get his people in place, learn how some of the ropes are pulled, and now he's starting to pull them. And you can see what's going on. He's got a lot of irons in the fire going on right now, and a lot of things going. We're going to see what else he does. I think it's going to be an interesting year with Governor Stitt at the helm, and maybe he'll give this show a lot more fodder because he's doing a good job so far. Anyway, this is Across the Desk with Kit Fairchild. We'll see you next week. This clip at the end of this show. This show is episode number 13, and so far I've been kind of thrilled with the way this channel's gone. I was really hoping maybe I'd get a few views a day starting out, and hopefully it would grow into some bigger channel. So far I'm thrilled that I'm getting usually about 50 views a day, turning into about 400 or 500 views a week, and most people are watching all the shows all the way through. This being about the 13th show, this makes it about the middle of the season. So we'll see what happens for the rest of this season. And like I want to do when I come out with season 2, I got a whole bunch of other ideas, and I want this show to grow. So every season I kind of want to do and add some stuff to it. And so we'll see. I got a lot of ideas, and I'd like to share those as we go along. Thank you for watching.